faces and to hear the energy and the discussion, all those things, the connections. That's really pretty neat to see and to hear. So those are good things. I want to give Amy a hard time, real quick. So Judy, the new fundraiser, she'll be here shortly. I'll introduce you to her. But she pointed out on the weekly highlights that the title of this meeting is Ryan's Meeting, and I'm like, it's really the executive director meeting. You know. So if we could change it back, the executive director meeting. It's not. I don't own this meeting. I don't own this campus. I'm just one person on the team. I'm grateful to be here, but yeah, I want to give her a hard time. I never knew that until Judy pointed it out. So, well, David, if you could start us off with prayer today, that'd be great, and then we'll jump in with some updates.
Well, let's hope we still have a prayer, folks.
All right, let's go to the Lord in prayer. Oh God, you are our creator, our sustainer, and our redeemer. It seems rather audacious for us to come before the throne of the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and yet we do. It's as though we think that you care about what we do in these moments in this place, but of course you do. So in humility, we come before you because you ask us to make our requests known to you. We come because we have so much for which to be grateful to you, and we come because we need you. Even though we may at times seem so overwhelmingly confident with an air of certainty that we have everything in hand, in our quiet, private, honest moments, we know that isn't the case. And so we come to you seeking your blessing and your direction. All around us there are people aplenty who are discouraged or even despairing about life's circumstances. And judging from the number of people of faith who are increasingly speculating that we're drawing near to the end times, it would seem even some people of faith are finding that the pickings are slim in the department of hope. Yet there is so much for which to be grateful, to be joyful, to celebrate. So help us each day to step back and take a close look and see that there are indeed many blessings which we should count and name one by one. Just today, walking outside, you see the budding trees, the pop of color of the daffodils, a beautiful warm day with clear skies, and all around us people who are dear to us. They're near at hand on this campus that we share. And in spite of divisions and heated exchanges in the larger context of our society, every day we hear accounts of overwhelming kindnesses that our citizens show to one another. We hear of others who bravely stand strong for the values of liberty and justice and equity for all, in spite of political and social pressures to distort the fabric of our society. And these are encouraging signs of hope. Closer to home, we sense some momentum. I like the term that Ryan just used, an energy here at Rolling Green Village, driven in part by the plethora of activities and day trips available and the amenities, the anticipation of a long-awaited chapel, the expectancy of a new assisted living that will be a jewel in the marketplace, but more important than that, it will be a delight for our assisted living residents, and the planned addition of many new potential friends in our next phase of expansion. So Lord, we thank you for leadership at all levels who are navigating the way toward a clear vision. Guide their thoughts, guide the planning, guide us all as those changes are made. And now, whether in our speaking or our listening, may this hour be a time of learning and of growing or more keenly connected to this community we call home. So hear our prayer, Lord. Amen.
Hello. First of all, I just want to let everybody know I'm going to be out of the office as soon as I finish talking in this meeting, and then I will be back on Wednesday. So if y'all need anything, then just get with Rose or Darlene or Sophia. So we're going to talk about bus trips. I put in the highlights, and I think we've talked about this in my resident activity discussion meeting. We're going to try to delay sign-ups for bus trips. And the reason for that is to give everybody a fair chance to sign up for the bus trips. So starting this Friday, when you get your highlights, or Saturday, whatever day you get them, You will see in there, new to the portal, it'll say, I think we're gonna have, I think there's trips, the music to, at Brevard. I put those on there, and also the music by the lake at Furman. So those will show up Monday morning at midnight. That's the best I can do. So it'll be midnight Monday. It'll show up. So as soon as you wake up Monday morning, you should be able to start signing up for them. If you don't use the portal, you can still call us to do that, okay? But we wouldn't be signing you up until Monday. All right, so you can let us know, but we would still sign you up on Monday. Any questions about that? Yes.
The last trip, I guess it was to a brewery or something like that. There was a little thing in highlights that said as of 6 a.m. on the 11th. I'm not particularly interested in that trip, but I was curious about how that would work. At 10 o'clock in the morning, the bus is filled.
Right, right. Because I think people are constantly looking on the portal to see what trips are available.
So these were, it should, we need another bus.
Okay.
Because now there's a wait list going.
Right. And anything that we have a large wait list for, we can plan to go again and put the people that are on the wait list on that trip that we have planned or rescheduled. So we try to do that as much as if we can. For shows and things like that, we can't because, the show's only one day. But if we've gone to something like the brewery or when we've gone to Lake Lure or Lake Jocassee or things like that, we try to plan multiple trips so everybody has the opportunity to go. So still sign up on the portal even if there's a wait list, okay? Because we use that to judge whether we're going to plan another trip or not. All right? Yes?
There are some people that wake up at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and then everything is still like that.
I can't help that. There's no good way or good process. I mean,
You can't process it at 2 o'clock on Monday, so people.
I can't. I know. I can't schedule the specific time. And at 2 o'clock, some people are playing cards and they can't sign up, or some people are doing whatever and they can't sign up. So that's the best I can do. So, everybody has the opportunity. If you want to wake up earlier that day and sign up, I don't know what else to do about that. So,
When
yes.
you have a new activity, why don't you have signups will start at 12 o'clock Monday for this new activity?
That's what we're doing.
Instead of starting at midnight.
Well, it is, but that's midnight. That's the only way I can schedule it. I don't think we can schedule a specific time. You can say what date it'll be shown on the portal, but I can't put the specific time.
It said 6 a.m. This one said 6 a.m.
Okay, well, I'm not sure. Sometimes the portal does its own thing, so I'm not 100% sure about that. And it may have been what time, I don't know. I don't even know. So, I know what time I can schedule things for, and it's for midnight Monday morning. So, okay. So the next thing is OLLI. The new OLLI classes start next week. OLLI stands for OSHA Lifelong Learning, and it is usually they have it at Furman University. They provide college level classes for seniors. They do have classes here for some people that may not know. It's $65 for the registration fee, and then the 4-week classes are $35, and then 8-week classes are $55. We have 3 classes that are going to be here in the spring. The first one is Let's Get Tech Savvy. It's taught by Bill Vickery. That's going to be Monday at 1:30 in Blue Ridge Room C. And he's going to talk about scams, how to save on your cell phone and cable bill, tech for healthcare, and just some different things like that. So at first we thought it was going to be an iPhone class, and they told us wrong. So that's why we had a correction on the portal. So you can still sign up for those classes, or you can show up to the class and you can get the registration form and pay for it then. Okay, somebody will be here to accept those. The next class is Trucks, Trailers, and Change by Bill Albert. That's on Tuesdays at 10:45, and we had to change it, so it'll be in Blue Ridge Room E. And that's a historic look at trucks from 1900 to present, and that's a 4-week class. And then we have Empowering Seniors and Their Families, Navigating the Aging Journey with Confidence, taught by Stephanie Burrows, and that's talking about resources for senior living options, Medicare and Medicaid, VA aid, so veterans aid, and then also estate planning. And that's an 8-week class, and that will be in here on Tuesdays at 1:30. So like I said, you can still sign up, you can come to the class and pay the day of if you want to. Exercise classes, we started a new class on Wednesday. It was Pilates, and it is taught by Teresa Tinsley, who is one of our residents here. She's a certified Pilates instructor. We had 18 people, so it was a great turnout for the class. So I was really happy about that. We also have Tai Chi, so Thursdays at 3 o'clock. Valerie Clinkscales, who is one of our residents as well, she is teaching the class. She used to teach Tai Chi years ago, and so she wanted just to practice up, so she could be the instructor, and so she is doing that at 3 o'clock in the Palmetto Conference Room. And then we have Mondays starting April the 8th at 1:30 in the Palmetto Conference Room. We have members of the Greenville Area Parkinson's Society will be offered a Tai Chi class that, like I said, Mondays at 1:30. That's starting April the 8th. But anybody is welcome to come, okay? But that will be members of the Greenville Area Parkinson's Society. Some big events that we have coming up. Tomorrow we have our St. Patrick's Day party at 2 o'clock in the Piano Lounge and Bistro. We have the Lori McClellan from Broadway and Beyond will be playing the piano. Her husband will be singing Irish songs. Her daughter will be playing the violin, and then her friend John will be playing the drums. So that should be a good time. I won't be here. I hate I have to miss it, but y'all come and have fun. On April 12th, we have the Veterans Rock fundraiser. Like we've done in the past, we've had the sock hop and the spring fling. So this one's is Vets Rock. So it'll be a rock theme. And we have our DJ, and it'll be a free meal for everyone. So Scarlet Hatters will have a yard sale fundraiser. I didn't write, that's April 26th. So be looking for more information about that. We have had some things in the highlights about that, but be looking for more information. And the money for that will go to the Employee Appreciation Fund. And then lastly, we're working on a cruise in. It'll be May 3rd from 12 to 3. So we've invited some members of auto shows or auto clubs around Greenville to bring some of their old cars. I've also talked to Ray Berge and Bob Most about bringing their cars. We're going to have some food trucks. We're going to have a DJ, so it'll be a fun time. Okay?
You don't have anything to do.
So does anybody have any questions about anything that we do in community life or anything I've talked about? Not one? Okay. Well, thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm going to kind of provide a licensed area update, and we'll go through occupancy and then some events that we have coming up and some events that we've had in the past that we're going to also bring back. So to begin, I want to talk about occupancy. So currently in rehab, we have 21 out of 22 beds occupied. So we're over 90% occupied in rehab. In healthcare, we have 46 out of 48 beds occupied with 2 empty beds with 1 admission planned for Friday of this week and 1 admission planned for Tuesday of next week. So we're really busy within the licensed areas. In Cedars, we have 27 out of 28 apartments occupied, and then in Evergreen Place, 14 out of 22. So we've continued to grow in all areas and hope to continue that growth. Evergreen Places continue to be our area of opportunity. So we have 3 planned admissions before the end of the month of March. So we hope to bring those residents in and continue to be able to serve in those areas. So that's occupancy. We had a successful month in February and hope to continue to see that in March. And then I want to talk a little bit about an event that a lot of residents attended from independent living last week. So we had an Evergreen Place drop-in We had a lot of residents attend that, and we felt that it was very successful. It gives residents from independent living an opportunity to be able to see what Evergreen Place is like, interact with those residents, see what Evergreen Place can offer you or your loved one at that point in time if it's ever needed. We're going to do that on the first Thursday of every month from here on out. So last week we started in December, and we slowly, wanted to develop what this event looks like, and we've become more successful over the past couple of months with it. So last week we had 2 sessions, one from 10 to 11 and one from 1 to 2. And during that session, the first session we had around 16 people, 10 independent living residents, and then we had 6 outside community either partners or vendors come in and look at Evergreen Place. And we had around 13 people here from 1 to 2. So it was a very successful event. We do have a max as to how many residents we want to take at that time. We don't want to overstimulate within that area, so we do have a cap of around 10 to 15 residents in independent living that can attend one session at a time. And those events are on the portal, so you can register on the portal for those. So we encourage you to continue to look at different licensed areas. Feel free to visit, ask questions, and what those areas can provide for you or your loved one. So we will have another one on April the 4th. We welcome you to attend, so just look for that on the portal and be able to sign up. And then I wanted to talk about our employee celebration. You may have noticed that we had a food truck here last Friday, and on March the 8th. That was in celebration of our deficiency-free surveys that we had last year. Total, we had 5 deficiency-free surveys between home health, life safety, our kitchen inspection, our annual recertification for skilled nursing, and then also assisted living. So we felt like yes, thank you. It's definitely something to celebrate. So we did a food truck last Friday to celebrate the employees and served around 180 employees, which was very successful. They waited in line for a little bit longer than anticipated, but the food did come out in a great manner. So they were very happy with that. So we did that, and then also ice cream. So if you were wondering why we had food trucks here, that was the reason behind that. So that was last Friday. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about a presentation that Shannon did. So Shannon wasn't able to be here today, but a presentation she did about 2 weeks ago over level of care assessments and what the different licensed areas look like. We had one on Monday 2 weeks ago, and it was very successful. We had around 45 residents here, and a lot of opportunity to ask questions around, Medicare, long-term care insurance, what each licensed area looks like, from assisted living all the way up to skilled nursing. It was received very well. So we do want to do another one of those and give residents the opportunity to attend that. It's a lot of information, and we know that it can be complex, and that's why I'm here, other departments here, heads are here, Shannon's here to help guide those questions, because we don't expect you to know each and every little thing about Medicare and all the regulations that come with it. So that's why we're here, and it gives you the opportunity to ask those questions. So look for that date. We don't have an exact date yet, but it will be probably the beginning of April, towards the middle of April. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about, let me find a note. I think that's it. Yeah. Any questions? I covered all my stuff. Anything else from anyone? Any questions for me? Well, I'm going to run while I can. All right. Thank y'all.
All right, let's get started. I wanted to highlight a couple things from Amy and Anna Grace. Want to continue to give credit to Anna Grace and her work to have those deficiency-free surveys. It's really hard, and I don't think we've ever done that, at least in the last 10 years that I've been around here. So just grateful for her support and continued focus on quality and taking care of our people. So that's really great. Amy mentioned OLLI. It's a great opportunity for you all to get connected with college level classes. It's really neat to see Mr. Albert's going to be teaching. That's pretty pretty great to see that resident engagement at that level. I can tell you Ollie is something that happens across the country. When I was in Cincinnati, I would help out with driving the car. So I drove a lady who was a retired clinical nurse from Yale out to the University of Cincinnati Blue Ash campus so she could go to an Ollie class once a week. So I did that a couple times for her. But it's a great opportunity, something that I've been talking to Amy about. How can we get Ollie here? And it's great that she's been able to create the connection and continue to bring them here. It's a great opportunity for you all. You don't have to do it. There is a fee, but we do think it's a great opportunity, community benefit, providing spaces for folks in the community to get to know a little bit about what we do, and also offer opportunity for you all as well. So, other thing to compliment Amy on and her team, she had, I think, was it 3, Sophia? 3 or 4 of you all went down to a conference. So each year we really do encourage our community life team members to get away from campus and go to a conference focused on their field, and for them to come back with some fresh ideas, do a little bit of networking. So I know Sophia went this year, Andrea from Evergreen Place, and Brittany went as well, Brittany Cobb, our Evergreen Place supervisor. So it's really important. I know I typically go at least twice a year to events like that. I'll be up in Durham, North Carolina on Tuesday to a one-day conference, but it's important for us to continue to stay fresh, get outside of our space, look at things differently, hear from other people, and just be at the top of what's going on in our field. So that's really good things that happened over the last couple of weeks. So let's go ahead and get started. Wanted to talk about some of the initiatives, and I'm kind of continuing to focus on the communication from last month. We did a phase 2 communication, a resident town hall back, actually it was last week. It does feel like last week. I'm coming up here again. Wanted to see if there was some additional information folks would like to see at the next town hall. We're looking to have the architecture team come from SFCS. They would be our co-presenter with myself. But any feedback on what other things you'd like to see or hear from the subject matter experts? Wanted to make sure, while you're thinking about that, want to make sure you know that on Tuesday the 26th, I'm also going to have a town hall meeting, but that's going to be for the folks that are prospective. So it's the same content. We did have some folks that live here invite some of those folks to come, but the first session was just for current residents. This is an opportunity for me to share with the folks that are on the prospective resident list the same information. So it's going to be a separate session on Tuesday the 26th. It's going to be up in the Hummingbird room. We couldn't get this room because of Ollie classes. And just so you're aware, in case you see that or hear that from some other folks, same content. If you don't feel okay asking a question, I'm happy to take questions offline. Also wanted you to know that in April we're going to have, yes?
One question that was asked at that meeting was that layout of the campus, and that showed where the new buildings were going relative to the ones that are on campus. Was there any, did you find a way to get that layout in a relief?
In a relief, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, with all the physical shapes.
Oh, the 3D,
yeah,
the 3D
3D
shape. When I see them next, I will ask him that question. I know that the one gentleman, the architect, I know he kept it at his office, and they were trying to figure out where to put it. But no, I think it's a great point. I'll check with him. Richard is the gentleman that kind of put it together. I think he still has it.
That would be a good thing for everybody to see about where these new buildings are going. Building is going, what it's going to do.
So so the question was asking if we could get the 3D renderings that were put together, this 3D printed of the buildings to kind of help see that. You guys could actually touch that. Could we get a copy of that or have that actually laid out here so folks could see it? So I'll check with Richard with SFCS. Maybe that's something they can deliver when they come in next. So I think that's a great point. I want to make sure you knew in April I'm going to provide the next executive director quarterly communication meeting. I put one out that was a recap for last year, but that's a commitment from myself to you all to increase communication and give you a recap of the first quarter, the first 3 months. Independent living resident pendants, second resident pendants. I've asked Ann to keep slowly kind of stockpiling some of the additional pendants. So she said she has some she has to send back to Status Solutions and she'll receive more. We are planning for some point in April to have an event for folks that do not have a second person pendant to come pick one up. So more information to come there, but we have changed our philosophy. It's something that I thought was important to make sure that if there's 2 people in a residence in a patio home that do not have a second pendant, because we used to only give out 1, we're going to be providing that second one, and it's not going to be of charge. So I want to make sure you know that. We're getting close. There's quite a few we had to purchase. They're about $200 a piece, so it's not cheap. So we've been slowly purchasing and making sure we can have those to hand out. So hang tight there. And then I'm waiting for Judy to come. She may be a little bit late. She'll be here in a few minutes, so we'll introduce her when she comes. Wanted to move forward to the financial results. Last time I met, we didn't have the January finances, so I wanted to share that with you. And then I also have the February finances to share with you. So in the month of January, we had a great start to the year. The momentum that we have from an occupancy perspective comes back to our independent living apartments and cottages and patio homes. So right now we're 96% occupied across the campus. That's really great. So those are the revenues that are helping to really drive our operating revenue. We've also had a great year in the health center with increased occupancy there. So those are the 2 reasons why we're able to exceed our budgeted operating revenue. Positive variance of $50,676. On the expense side, we actually went slightly over by about $8,500 in the month of January. That does come back to the food and beverage. We used a little bit more staff and had some overtime costs there. And then also on the healthcare side, we have temporary staff that we're utilizing back there that cost more. And those are covering for open positions. And we've also had overtime to cover open positions in the month of January. So that was better in February, which I'll talk to you about. But we've seen a good number of hires over the month, over February. I think we added 3 in February, and then there's quite a few more in March. So that's a good thing, and that'll help us to bring those expenses down. So for the month of January, we exceeded, we met our NOI and exceeded by $42,000. We'll keep moving to the next slide. What are the key drivers to success? As I mentioned, we're 96% occupied. That's all levels of living here at Rolling Green. Independent living apartments, Cedars apartments are above budget. Also the health center, we are seeing the highest rehab census we've had in a number of years since pre-COVID. So we have 22 private rooms over there, and I believe today was 21? So we do have some discharges coming. Average length of stay in the rehab areas, it could be 12, 15, maybe 18 days. So folks are moving through pretty quickly. But that's great to see that number stay there consistently. So that helps us, particularly on the revenue side. And then also I don't know if everybody's aware, but there is a partnership that we have with Bob Jones University. And we've actually had 3 of their retirees move into the health center over the last few weeks, and that partnership is phenomenal. It's the Promise program that they have for folks that have been on faculty at Bob Jones University, and they're living in our health center. And 2013 is when I got here. About 2014, I went out to the campus and visited with folks there and kind of helped to create that partnership. And I think in that time, I would say there has to have been at least 30 folks that have come to our health center to receive the type of support. And Bob Jones is supporting them, which is an amazing gift. So we've had a couple of those folks move in, and they have a great community. I think there's a good number of them right now, and they provide great support to each other. Folks have known each other for years, so that's pretty special. Not something that we advertise, but something that you all should be aware of that connection, that local connection. Expense control wise, we've been 19,000 under budget so far. We have temporarily staff utilized in health center and in accounting. We're down one person in accounting. And we have seen higher overtime costs to cover some of the open positions. Particularly in the health center, if there's an open position, you can't just absorb it or go work with one less person. So we do have to make sure that those folks here and utilizing temporary staff at that time. And we do see some significant capital expenditures coming up, and I'll talk about them here in a little bit. So I want you to be aware of, we're grateful we're off to a really solid start for the year. Particularly in January we were, and we've got a lot of work and a lot of catching up to do on some of the projects that we have. If you want to move forward to the next. So this is February, which we basically just closed pretty much yesterday in finalizing. Our operating revenue, again, we exceeded what we had budgeted. That's driven again by our independent living apartments and homes, and also by the health center. The health center actually exceeded the positive revenue. It was higher than the IL apartments for the first time. So they're running a great census over there. On the expense side, we also were able to keep our expenses under our planned budget. So we did have a positive variance above what we had planned for the month of February. So again, a great start to the year. I want to talk about some of the improvements and give some updates we talked about previously. Spectrum TV package. Got some feedback from residents that they got a letter from Spectrum saying that they had received an upgrade and they weren't exactly sure what the cost was going to be. So I actually reached out to our Spectrum contacts. This goes back to the Turner Classic Movies issue where we reached out to them and said, hey, we want that channel back. They said that's great, but we have to give you a new agreement. So we did do that. There's no additional cost to residents. And when I asked the Spectrum lady, she said we sent that. She didn't even know it was being sent out. She sent me an email and said, I'm sorry, we didn't think that this was going to go out. There's only a few additional changes. So I just wanted to clarify and make sure folks knew within that letter, it felt like you could see an increase, but there's not going to be any additional increase for the folks on the bulk Spectrum TV package that's primarily looking at folks in the patio homes that have chosen to go with that. I do want to point out you guys have a heck of a deal out there. I pay $140 for the same service at my house, and you all have a really good deal. So, and continue to have a good deal. I just want to make sure you're aware. And the Wellness Center, swimming pool, we have received 2 estimates for the pool, but now as we look at the swimming pool, we know that there's work that needs to be done in the ceiling. So we don't want to just do the pool and the surface and then have to come back and do the ceiling. So we're trying to get a quote to fix some of the ceiling elements that need repair. So I want to make sure you're aware of that. Amy is working with a handful of residents to come up with a contingency plan for the pool when it is under construction, under closed. She's going to continue to work with a handful of folks to see what we can do to provide an off-site option for them. Curb appeal at the front entrance, working with Brightview. I spent about 2 hours with them on Monday. Once a month we visit with their crew. And there's going to be an upgrade at the front entrance on Garlington, the flagpole there. There's going to be some work done tomorrow by Brightview. But we're also looking at some other spaces that we feel that need attention and need updating, particularly where there's not grass or where there's plants that have died, making sure that we can improve that curb appeal and that first impression. So we are continuing to work with them as well. And then the Hoaxsmith sidewalk, we do have a couple of questions for the utility company before we finalize that. That's where you'll see the flags that are out there on Hoaxsmith as you come in. There's white, purple, where we need to make sure we know where all the utilities are that are underneath the sidewalk before we look at ripping out the sidewalk and putting in a new sidewalk that kind of continues what we did before. We're going to continue that up. But we also do have quite a bit of work to do, probably taking out trees in that area as well. And I think if folks know that when you go down Hoaxsmith, there's a nice little bump, a route that's coming up through Hoaxsmith. We're going to have to cut that out as well. But there are going to be a number of trees. And I've told Skip we need to plant some more trees somewhere because we are going to be taking some down. But that will be an upgrade, a pretty significant upgrade that we have quotes for, and we're just looking to finalize that. Hopefully by May, June, we can start that project. That may lead to some temporary closures of the way going out of Hoke Smith while that's going on. So once we get closer to it, we'll get some communication out to you and give you as much notice as possible to know you may have to be rerouted on a temporary basis while some of that work is being done. So looks like Judy is here. Judy, would you mind coming up? So Judy Outlaw started with us last week, and we're extremely grateful to have her here. She is our new full-time fundraiser, and I've been visiting with her pretty much every day, just trying to download anything I can. I've told her just to continue to be a sponge and absorb and learn about Rolling Green Village. So I wanted to bring her up and have her introduce herself real quick.
I've never used a sponge in my kitchen, and I know why. It would get too full, because that's what's happened to me. I have got too much knowledge and information and names, but I am trying to sort all of that out. I'm so glad I see some familiar faces that I've already met or talked to here, and I'm looking forward to getting to know a lot more. I don't think I'll ever be on Ryan's level with knowing of names, but I'm going to, that's my goal, to do that. I've been a fundraiser with nonprofits for 30 years. I really started very young, raising money, and actually I was a Girl Scout when I sold my first Girl Scout cookies. And but I have worked with a variety of secular nonprofits as well as faith-based nonprofits. One of my real loves is grant writing, and so I'm hoping to instigate some grants into Rolling Green's village here. And I've also done a variety of events. I have done events from the nice formal dinners and wine and cheese and dances, all the way to a cow plop. And if you don't know what that is, you are probably better off, okay? So with that. So I've been through the gamut of everything. But I'll be glad to try to answer any questions when you see me. Please stop me and introduce yourself. And I stopped on the way earlier. I had a meeting, and I stopped in the art center and met some wonderful people in there, because art is my passion. So I enjoyed that time. So thank y'all, and thanks for the great welcome.
Like I said, she's off to a great start. I've been visiting with her, and she's got some really great questions, and I told her to keep them coming and just kind of take the time to get to know, who we are and what we do. So we're grateful to have you here, Judy. See if we can keep moving along. Lakeside Sidewalk, another project that we've been talking about for a little bit. We have received the geotechnical engineering report, and we're waiting for more recommendations before we can move forward. We do see this as a pretty significant project, likely to exceed $150,000 expense, as we're looking at grading of land and moving a bridge and a lot of dirt and just securing that shoreline sidewalk area. So we're waiting to get 2 recommendations, working closely with the geotechnical engineer, and once we get those recommendations, we're going to sit down with the Lakeside HOA folks to talk through them and what the implications are. This is something that's pretty extensive, and we're not just going to rush in, but we're going to slowly look at this, and we are going to address it this year. So more to come there once we get those recommendations. The Village Green Courtyard, I don't know if folks are aware, but we have formed a small resident subcommittee working with leadership. We're looking at improving the space. We've met a couple different times, talked about a couple different recommendations. So we have finalized what the patio fencing is going to look like in that space. We've also got to add a few more concrete patios to complete the patio project there, which hopefully will start soon. Once we finish the fencing, then we can put to rest that that level of the project, and we can start the new patios. But the subcommittee has also put together a survey. We're interested in hearing from folks that look onto the village green and utilize the village green, what they like to see in that space. We're going to need to replace the arbor that's there, the wisteria that's kind of overgrown the arbor, which is kind of swaying a little bit. And we want to know what that space could really best be utilized for. We think we have an idea, but we also want to proof that with residents that utilize that space. So we have met with Brightview in the last couple of weeks, and they're doing an irrigation study to make sure we know exactly where the sprinkler system is. And we've recognized that there's quite a few areas that have brown spots that do not grow grass and have been like that for a number of months and or years. So we're going to be putting down some ground cover. We're going to be putting in some ferns that can survive in the darker areas where grass can't grow, and also looking at some other color that's going to be added. So we put through the request, hopefully to be the end of this month, when they can get started on that. But we wanted you to be aware that that is happening. But then also recognizing that the village green courtyard, we're looking at that space. What kind of structure should we put back in there? We're likely going to need to do some more concrete work, and there's also a little bit of a drainage issue there as well. So that's a pretty big investment and project that we're working on, that we want some more resident feedback. So there will be a survey coming out here pretty soon. We'd like to hear your feedback. Speed bumps. We have installed speed bumps, and that focus has been on high pedestrian traffic areas. Skip sent me a picture, which I didn't post here, but somehow, some way, somebody hit one of our boulders next to the speed bump and actually moved it. So I don't know if they were having like a strongman contest or if they hit it with their vehicle. But again, the whole focus is focusing on safety, particularly in spaces that people are walking. I've also heard a rumor that people are skipping the sidewalk, the speed bumps out here, and they're driving through the porte cochere, which is pretty narrow, in trying to, I guess, get a few seconds back in their life to do that. So I worry that they're going to take out one of those posts as well, because it's pretty narrow if you drive through there. So again, the focus, we are a people, we're a place where a lot of people live and are moving, and we need to make sure that we're being safe. So we'll be adding some more speed bumps coming up as well, I'm sorry to tell you. Yep.
Something that ought to be said about the four-way stop.
And that's one of the areas we're going to be adding speed bumps, is the four-way stop between Hoke Smith and Trail Oaks. Waiting for Skip. We'll come up with a plan to do that. But yes, and we'll likely be adding at least one speed bump or something to slow down people that are trying to utilize the Cottage Drive as a shortcut. People think they can save a few seconds by going through there as well. So we want to make sure we slow people down. It's important to make sure that we're keeping each other safe. Go ahead, Skip. I'm sorry. Ken, yes.
What about a little more signage? We're reminded when we come in through the back way, it's 26 miles an hour.
Yeah. So looking at signage, the request is looking at some other signage. We can definitely look at some other signage, but sometimes people are going faster and not looking at the signage. They don't pay attention, so there's no answer. Believe me, I'm not super excited about speed bumps. But we need to focus on keeping people safe, and we don't want something to happen. Vehicles are, folks know that accidents can happen, so we want to be mindful.
There are affordable, you're going, speed limits this, but it tells you how fast you're going.
Yeah.
You move around it.
Yep.
As a reminder.
Yeah.
Ride my scooter,
Yeah. Well, your phone tells you now how fast you're going. When you're driving, I was going down 26, and your phone will remind you what the speed limit is, and it'll show it in red. You're going above the speed limit. So yeah, we just have to be careful. If we move forward to the next. So the pickleball court project, we've been talking about this for a long time, longer than I would want. We're still in a holding pattern. We're waiting for the final development plan to be approved, so that anytime we add a hard surface, there's stormwater indications. So we have to wait for the full project that we're working on to be approved before we can do that. But we have determined that we're going to need to put that in a temporary location. The permanent location will be up towards the four-way stop. But as we worked with the construction crew that came in from Clancy Phase, they said that that space is a perfect laydown for their equipment and for some of their staff to be in. So we, instead of building something brand new and having a bunch of trucks coming through and all of that, we decided to put it temporarily back here and adjacent to the dog park and to the rose garden there until the end of the phased project, and then it would be moved up to that location. So just want you to be aware of that. We're going to be working with Clancy. I got an email from the folks at Clancy I wanted to share with you, which I'm excited about. Matt Prater is the gentleman that's working with Clancy, and he said, we're ready to start digging in on this. We've been making connections with athletic surfacing contractors at recent conferences and have already mentioned to them that we will have this project coming out soon. Thanks, and we're looking forward to getting on campus. So that's from Matt as we're looking to execute that project. It's going to be into the summer. Unfortunately, we have to wait for the county to review those plans. But we are going to continue to move forward as mentioned here. So I'll share more when I have more information. Moving along. Almost done here. The woodshop key, from my understanding, is still missing. If anybody's seen it, please make sure we know. Otherwise, we're going to have to rekey that and incur cost to rekey it. So I wanted to also share that we have 16 patio home residents that are receiving, you could say, partial housekeeping in their homes. This is an area that some residents said they wanted to have back, and we took away during COVID, and they'd like to have the option of having somebody clean their home from Rolling Green because it was a better deal than outside providers. So we do have around 16, and last time I checked with Mary, that are working with Rolling Green Village to provide housekeeping once a month, twice a month, whatever they choose. So I want you to be aware of that. Technology support has been rolled out as well. It's another resident request that the service is available if you want. There's an additional fee involved, but we can have a technology support person come to your home and help you with your technology issues. Dining room reservations, the Touchtown portal is continued to be accessible. We've got some new instructions that are out there for folks to make sure they know how to use it. If you need assistance with that, you can ask Amy and or folks from the food and beverage dining services team. Resident scams, I've heard of a couple recently. Please be mindful. If you get a pop-up on your computer or your phone or a telephone call from someone, even if the number looks like something that you know, I would just pause, because we've had some concerns. Resident got a pop-up that said that their computer was infected and they needed to write a check and send it to them. So, so please be mindful of that. It's kind of the new version of a bank robbery. It's easier for somebody to do that, to sit at a computer in some foreign country and to have a list of people with a certain age and income and just go down the list, and they just look for one or two people to send them $1,500, and they're not putting themselves at risk. So it happens more often than you'd like to know, and when we hear about it, we just want to gently remind people to just be mindful. If they have questions, talk to your family members. This doesn't sound right. Your providers should not really typically be calling you unless you're asking for a call or know that they're going to be calling you. So just be careful. We don't want to have anybody else taken advantage of.
Suggestion.
Yep.
We've gotten 5 calls from Russia.
5 calls from Russia? Yeah. Yeah. And if folks have an iPhone, there's a button on the side. You click it twice. If there's a number that you don't know, click it twice, it mutes it, and then it goes to voicemail. You can check it later. you know, it's very rare for me to actually answer my phone anymore. I think most people don't either. You know, if something's really urgent, you know, you can get back to them. But picking it up, you know, it might be best just to let it go to voicemail if I don't know the number, and then I'll look into it and I'll call them back. But just kind of pause a little bit if we can, because it's really, really difficult to go through all these extra things, and it's hard on a lot of people. So
But if you have a landline, you can't do that.
if you have a landline, you can. If you have
Forget-
caller ID,
Just forget the number. Just
yeah.
look at it. If you don't know what it is, let it go. Don't
Yeah,
forget
just
that.
if you could we just ask you to be vigilant if there's questions. We are looking at, I've got some feedback to maybe have somebody come out and talk a little bit about it. We're looking at that. Amy would do that as an education series. You know, somebody in the field to talk about the scams that are going on. They do kind of shift and change a little bit over time, but it is still happening, and it's, from my understanding, once you pick up the phone once, then that you're put on a different list and you get multiple calls. So even just picking it up and hanging it up is still, will put you on a different list to get multiple calls. So, yep.
In case you haven't had this happen to you, we've had to have it twice to us.
Twice.
Where we got an email supposedly from the pastor of our church.
Yeah.
And it came across and said, I'm working on a specific project that I need help. Would you please respond to me, but kind of keep it secret because I want to help this person.
Yeah.
Not asking them to use their phone number because he was at a meeting, but to send them an email, and everything on this particular thing was the exact church that we go to,
Yeah.
the pastor's name, the address was correct, telephone number was correct,
Yep.
and we had gone through this once before in Wisconsin, so we were aware of the fact that it wasn't probably coming from him.
Yep.
And it wasn't. So we called the church, and of course, they didn't know anything about it, and said, so be aware that if you're in any church around, if you get a request, because the one time I did follow up just for the heck of it, because I thought I'm going to have a little fun with this guy, and they wanted, which is all the way to sign that there's something wrong, because they wanted a gift card from Walmart so that they could get it. And that, as soon as they start talking gift cards, that was.
Yeah.
But anyway, it certainly looked legitimate, except they misspelled my wife's name. Well, instead of having A-N-N-E, they just had A-N-N, so right away you know. But coming from a church, it's a little...
Yeah, you're right. They can pose in a lot of different ways. They can change, the name on an email, and it's very deceptive. So just don't click on something. If you don't have to answer the phone, don't. You can wait, a minute to call them back. So Vance, what do you have?
Anybody that has a timeshare, I don't know how many there are, is that it's full of scams. To help you get rid of it, et cetera, et cetera. So I just warn you, don't go anywhere with it.
Yeah. Just be careful. Timeshares, just be mindful of some of these things. I would just pause and kind of ask the question. But we have heard of it, and it is going to continue to happen. It's not going to go away. And there'll be new changes and ways that they can get around some of these restrictions. So. One more thing, and then I'll open up to some questions. I plan to get the resident handbook out by the 15th of April. We've been talking about it for a long time. We've been looking at it from the department head team. There's some updates and some simplifications of it. So we'll have that resident handbook that's posted by the middle of next month. It's almost close to being finished. So, and then the last item, wanted to share some good news as far as resident engagement. We have 95 folks that are interested in moving here right now. And we would have more, but they actually jumped off that list to buy a patio home. So we have 11 patio homes that are going to be sold within the next few weeks. So I just want to just talk about resident engagement and the work that we do and the things that we do. people see that and people want to be here. So 95 people that if we had the right type of housing for them would want to move here. So they've all put down deposits, and when something comes open, we go through our list, we call them. We've never had that depth of a list before. So it's pretty special, and we're grateful. But we have to continue every single day to execute on what we've said we would do. But it's great to see that. So I just wanted to share that. You guys probably don't have that information. You'll hear numbers from time to time, but it's great to see that folks want to live in Greenville and folks want to be at Rolling Green Village. So I'll open up to some questions. Who has the first question? Skip's got the mic here. We'll put him to work.
Not that I don't work during the day.
He does.
I think he's implying something.
We did have a water heater leak, just so folks are aware. The salon had a lot of cold water recently, and we had a water boiler. That was how many years old? 15 years maybe? And it went out. When some of this equipment that's so old goes out, you can't always find the exact same piece of equipment. So we actually downsized it slightly, but then had to do some replumbing. So there was some inconvenience for the salon. And I think it's been more of that recently. We were trying to keep that thing alive for a little bit, and now it's completely dead. So now we got a brand new one, and we will have hot water. I know Tom from the salon called me once on my cell phone and asked when the water was going to be on, and I said, "I'm sorry, Tom, I promise you, once this is in, we won't have this." And he said, "Can we install our own water heater?" And I said, "Sure, if you're going to pay for it, you can." But I said, just give us a couple days, and we do have it up and going. Now, that said, we have a water heater that we had an issue with this morning. Skip was working with the contractor. We got that fixed over in rehab. So there's always something going on here. So go ahead. Question.
I think I forgot.
It'll come back. It'll come back. The reservations online,
At one point in time recently, I haven't checked it, it only allowed you to make reservations for lunch.
Okay.
Is it available for reservations for dinner now?
I don't know the answer to that question, so I have to check with Bruce. I don't see Bruce anywhere here, or Rose. Rose knows a lot of answers.
Okay.
It's all Rose. So no, it doesn't sound like I see a nodding of some heads saying it's not available for dinner yet.
Okay. The situation is, though, will there be a time in the near future when you can only get reservations for dinner online?
No. No, we don't want to do
How do
that.
they discriminate? Not discriminate is the wrong word. How do they define, say, someone asks for a reservation online at 5:30 for 5 people, and you call and you ask for reservations at 5:30 for 5 people. How do they start taking the reservations? Do they do the ones online first, or the ones who call in? Because if they do all the ones online, and the people who call in, even though they may have called in earlier,
Yeah.
you know what
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
talking
know.
about?
I can't answer that question. That's something I'll have to follow up with Bruce on.
It should be defined because.
Yeah. And just so you're aware, we want to have the reservations. We want to see a slow shift to embracing technology, because it's definitely more effective for us to not have somebody sitting and taking down calls or sitting at a phone and retrieving messages. So we'd like to see, we're never going to completely get away from it, but we might shift and slowly add a few more online, because it does make it more efficient for us. But we will never get away from it completely.
But there has to be some fairness there. If you're going to take all the online ones, and the people who have called in earlier will not be able to get their reservation.
Yeah. So I'll have to follow up with Bruce on that.
Okay. Thank you.
But that's a good point. The next question.
Last Saturday, down by the bus port, that little planter was taken out.
Yeah.
Why?
We all want to know, and
Yeah.
nobody seems to know.
Yeah. So the planter, we that was one of the projects that I had requested for Skip to do recently. He's smiling. So we don't, as you're aware, Skip does not have a maintenance shop yet, like a nice building. He keeps teasing me about it. When are you going to build me a nice maintenance building? Well, we don't have one yet. We also do not have places to park the golf carts that we own under a cover. So that location we've determined is a good spot to park potentially 3 slots for golf carts, similar right there next to the bus port. You know, it's not a heavily used area. There was a planter. We're going to be putting down some concrete filling that, and we will have the Schuler shuttle will be parked there because it doesn't have anywhere to park under cover. The marketing golf cart. So we have invested in 2 new golf carts that we have to put under cover from the elements. So that's where we're going to start off with before we look at adding another type of garage structure. That's a good question. Yep.
My question is about security. In Creekside, a number of us are concerned. Just this past week, it's just a simple little thing, but a decoration a man had on his front of his yard, which was a remembrance of his granddaughter was stolen. And the fact of it is, I have, outside of my garage, I have motion sensor, and on my front door I have motion sensor. And at night, those motion sensors, or in the evening when it's dark, those motion sensors go on and off an awful lot. I live in a cul-de-sac, there's a lot of traffic there. We're very concerned about people coming who are not a part of Rolling Green, and particularly with the area growing here, we don't feel as safe as we used to feel. And talking, they're wondering if there's some way that we can close off even the back gate a little bit better, or even the front gate, particularly in the evenings. We feel that this was most likely taken in the evening or night. Neighbors have gotten extra trash thrown in their garbage cans that they did not put in. Some other things have been taken, and so we're concerned in that area.
Yeah.
So it's a point of concern for a group of us there.
Yeah, we share your concern when it comes to safety and security. We do have a security guard. They are, making rounds. I don't have a great answer for you. We do want to be mindful. I think the first thing is just neighbors looking out for each other. We have talked about potentially looking at some different types of gates. So that may be something we look at, eventually getting to a gate that has this. Now that's going to create some more issues for people that don't have this, but maybe that's something we've talked about. We don't have any plans yet, but as we move forward, that may be something we look at to try to help increase some of the security. But even just having, being able to have a drive, folks are going to be on foot, so that doesn't solve somebody walking past it or,
They drive around.
Yeah.
People, we see a lot of people just drive, which is fine for them if they're actually in there looking for a home or something. But these are people driving and some people on foot, but we're not at either entrance because we're separated from that a little bit. But there's concern from us older people by ourselves, who live by ourselves.
You're right. And if you have a concern, you need to reach out to security, call them. You should have the cell phone number. There might be people looking for the patio homes that were for sale. Yeah. I'm not aware of any significant concerns right now. As far as stuff we've heard from the security guard. If you see something, please let us know. We'll document that. There could be something that we need to look into or contact the police department about. So we share your concern, and we are thinking that through and may need to come up with some different measures. Next question.
This is mostly for Skip. Have you seen the trees down in our backyard by the sidewalk this morning? There's one tree that's laying down, there's 2 trees that are gnawed, and there's one down on the island. I think it's beavers.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'm not aware of what you're saying. Where are you talking about on the sidewalk? What sidewalk? Where?
By the lake.
By the lake. Okay, so it's by the houses right there at the end of the dam on Lakeside? I haven't looked at those, but
It just happened this morning.
okay, well, that's probably why I hadn't seen it on that. But yes, we do have beavers. We actually have some that are tunneled into the dam, into the island. And if you look at the end of the island, you'll see a big hole. That's probably a beaver den. But they did cut the 2 willow trees that we planted, that I went out and bought, that we planted there. They cut them. If you look at it, you can't see them, but you have some binoculars, you can see where the beaver's been chewing them. And then we've got a beaver house and a beaver dam over at this end behind the woodworking shop. Now we'll have to address that, but they've got so much water backed up in there, we can't get in there to do it, but we will address it, and so we're looking at that. I'll take a look at the tree that you're talking about too, what we can do about it.
Actually, I have to go with the sidewalk anyway, but.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so there was questions over here. Okay, Pat.
Back to the security problem. Do you think when we get all those 95 more people in here, we're gonna still be able to use one person on each ship for security?
And that's something that we definitely have to address. I agree.
I think sooner than later.
Yep.
On the safety issue, when we moved in a year ago, they told us that the back gate would be automatically locked at 10 o'clock. It has never been locked when we've come in. And I think if you lock that gate at 10 o'clock, you're going to deter kids or anybody driving through to go through, going around, and a quick way out if they come in to vandalize or do anything. I think that would be a really good idea,
Yeah.
get that gate locked at 10 o'clock every night.
Skip can talk to that.
It started that several years ago. I don't know why they did it.
No, it wasn't supposed to be quit. That was supposed to be going on, and this is the first I've heard about it. So until we hear about it, we make assumptions, okay, right or wrong. But I'll take care of that tonight. Thank you. Who's next?
Next question.
Come on now, y'all got to ask more questions. I don't want him to start telling jokes like Bob used to do.
Have they never heard about speed humps?
Speed humps?
Speed humps that many neighborhoods use. They don't ruin your golf carts, your cars, your back, and they're not dangerous. I've had many close calls because of the speed bumps that they've started to put in on main roads as well as side roads, and nobody knows whose turn it is to go. Nobody knows who's going to stop or who's going to go. And I've had some close calls coming out of the main section.
Okay.
And because the main road, you don't expect to stop all of a sudden on a lot of places. But speed humps would help because the speed bumps are right where the speed stop signs are, so you don't need two.
Yeah. I think most of our speed bumps are at stop signs, except for a few. So a large majority of them are at the stop sign, so folks should be stopping already as it is.
Yeah, but anyway, it's hard to explain. There's one place where I live where there's two, which is fine. But they don't know who's gonna go next. That's the problem. They all look at each other or somebody's.
Yeah, that's where I'm usually the one that waves the other person on.
Me too.
And waits, because, you just don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. Again, I come back to safety. I'm grateful. I go to the doctor every year for a history and physical. My doctor says, "You're doing great." He said, "The only way you're going to die is in a car accident." He does. He tells me that. It's like, be careful on the roads. It is, people, cars are, people pass away every single day. We have to be careful. We've had very close calls of people walking through you can't see between cars and somebody can get hit. We don't want that.
A speed hump before the stop sign. It slows them down before the stop sign. And then they don't have to go over that horrible hump. Some of those speed bumps are too much.
We'll definitely look at that. We're probably going to need to do something like that at the back gate where that speed bump is starting to deteriorate. So we are going to need to look at something different back there. So I hear you. Yes.
I'm not sure who to ask, so I hope I'm not bothering the wrong person, but I'm wondering if we could get much better advertising when the Bloodmobile is gonna be here.
The Bloodmobile? Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not sure who to ask, but if you could make a note and ask somebody.
Yeah, that's
The
gonna
last
be
time they
Amy.
came-
Sophia's raising her hand there. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we put the information on the calendar, on the highlights, and it may not be on, is it on the portal? Someone said portal. We could put it on the portal, but it is in the highlights and it is in the, hello. We put the information on the monthly calendar, and the Bloodmobile is here every quarter. So it was here in March, so it'll be here in June. We put it in the highlights and we put it in the calendar, but we can start adding it to the portal, so you would know as well. We also put posters all over the place. Yeah, we do put posters and sign-up sheets all over the place. So the next thing would be the portal, to put it in the portal so you can see it there.
Does everybody know Sophia? Some folks, okay. Y'all know Sophia started off at the front desk and then helped us out in resident services, and also worked as a part-time social worker for a little bit, and then went back to resident services. She's amazing. Yeah, in the licensed areas, and she's done a little bit of everything.